FA が活発な勢いを見せるメジャーリーグのストーブリーグですが、各チームが欲しい選手、残留して欲しい選手など情報が続々と上がってきています。今日は日本人選手からは菊池雄星投手のアストロズ移籍後の活躍の秘訣と移籍市場全体の話題をお届けいたします。ぜひ最後までご視聴いただければ幸いです。このチャンネルでは日本人メジャーリーガーの話題を中心に気になるメジャーリーグのニュースを翻訳してお届けいたします。お見逃しのないよう今のうちにチャンネル登録をお願いいたします。
So, as you can see on our beautiful floor here, stay put or hit the road. We're going to take a look at a few free agents, and Alex is going to tell you whether they should stay with the team that they ended 2024 with,
put me on the spot.
Should they hit the road. Let's start with Tyler O'Neill. Should he stay in Boston, or should he hit the road and really test the free agent market?
Well, I think he's going to test it, but I think out of all the guys that we're looking at and the free agents that are out there, he's more likely, at least if I was him, to stay put.
Tailor-made for that ball.
Yeah, I mean, big right-handed power hitter, plays the outfield, like you said, tailor-made for that ballpark. I mean, he seems to fit the Red Sox and what they're trying to do. Obviously, the Red Sox, too, may look at different options, too, because he does have a history of being a little streaky and injury-prone.
Yeah.
But to me, when I look at Tyler O'Neill, I think he's made for that ballpark. You know, he's shown like he has that 30-homer potential, obviously, with 31 home runs last year. So I would say stay put.
And if he stays put, the team bench press average immediately
goes up.
Goes up.
Absolutely.
Because he's throwing around some serious weight. Willy Adames, he's a free agent, ended his season with the Milwaukee Brewers, got some big hits for a team that was really good, surprised a lot of people in 2024. He figures to be a coveted asset for a team. Should he stay in Milwaukee or hit the road?
No, I think he's hitting the road. I think the writing's been on the wall with Adames for a little while with the Brewers.
Yeah.
I mean, even Pat Murphy has said this, like, you know, it seems unlikely that he'll be back, but there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be after him because he is just a good, solid shortstop, good hitter, good power hitting shortstop. So there's a lot of things to like about Willy Adames's game. I mean, this is pretty telling right here as far as the shortstops go in the big leagues. And he's been about as steady a performer, not only defensively but offensively. So the teams that are looking for a shortstop, you know, are going to be in on him. I know he's talked about, like, hey, if I'm willing to move to second base if somebody needs that as well. But I think there's going to be enough need there for a shortstop. And he's a good enough shortstop, you know, well above average on both sides of the ball to land a nice contract playing shortstop for somebody.
Let's talk about another middle infielder, and that, of course, is Gleyber Torres. Ended last season with the New York Yankees. His walk year started out very poorly, but when they moved him to the leadoff spot, he seemed to take off, and he gets a lot of criticism. But one thing that Gleyber does is he posts. He plays nearly every day. He's got a lot of durability. Should he stay put or should he hit the road?
I think he probably hits the road, mainly just because I think the Yankees are going to want to look to see what else is out there and a way to improve their ball. Gleyber's been a good player for the Yankees, but I think they're going to probably hit the road here on Gleyber.
Our final player, Teoscar Hernandez of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He meant so much to this team in their World Series run. Does he stay put, or do you think he hits the road?
I think it makes sense for him to stay put. Obviously, he had a tremendous year for them. We just did an interview with Teoscar, and how great was that? I mean, he's a tremendous guy in the clubhouse. You know, really good outfielder, good power hitting right-hander. So I think it just makes sense for him to stay put. He loves it in LA. They obviously love him. So I'm sure it'll just come down to exactly how the Dodgers want to put together their roster. If he ends up, you know, being a fit as far as their future plans are to constructing a roster. So, but I think it makes a lot of sense for him to stay on both sides.
He did get the qualifying offer from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He won't sign it, but that is something to think about. All right, one bonus player here, his teammate.
I love bonuses.
Yeah, everyone does. Jack Flaherty, should he stay put or should he single me up, Lisa? Hit the road, Jack. What do you think, Alex? I'm sorry. It's Brianna's fault. It's producer Brianna. She thought she was being funny by putting Jack Flaherty. Where do you think? Do you stay put or does he hit the road?
Oh man, I think he hits the road. I think he tests free agency. He did the 1 year thing. Obviously, the Tigers brought him on a 1 year deal. He was able to make good on that 1 year contract. Pitched really well. Kind of found that slider again. And that swing and miss stuff. So I think he ends up getting a nice deal from somebody that is looking for pitching, a good number 2, number 3 type starter.
You take a look at his numbers here. I think of all the group of players that we just discussed, was it just one player that we said should stay put, and that's Tyler O'Neill?
Yeah, I mean, usually when you have the opportunity, or like Flaherty, you take a chance on a 1 year deal to try to reestablish that market for yourself. At that point, you're gonna make sure you capitalize on that opportunity. And I wanted to get into Kikuchi because he really, I think he surprised a lot of people what he was able to do. So I'm gonna walk over and see. We're gonna get into Kikuchi a little bit.
Are you moving on?
I'm moving.
Are you walking on camera?
I got to watch out for this step here.
Is this allowed?
Can we do this?
Since when did we start? I need to be kept abreast of all these.
You have to always make sure you wear your pants
and production changes.
But
I like it.
Let's bring up this board first with Kikuchi because this was interesting to me. What did Houston do differently with Kikuchi that he couldn't do in Toronto? The main glaring thing is the pitch usage, obviously. So in Toronto, he was more of a 4-pitch mix, right? In Houston, it looks like they just really kind of simplified things for Kikuchi. Really primarily focused on what he did really well, four-seam fastball and slider. Sometimes with a guy like Kikuchi, it's easier to simplify things. If we go to the next board, what was that difference that looked like between Toronto and Houston? And it was a stark difference. Obviously, there's a difference in starts. He had 22 over 10 starts, but when you look at the record, the ERA, his whip, the K per 9, I mean, all of these numbers right here just show a vast improvement over the course of his 10 starts with the Astros as compared with the Blue Jays. Now let's get into some of the video with Kikuchi because this is what you're going to see. For a guy in Toronto like him, he always had issues with walks, right? Had a little trouble with command. So when you have a 4-pitch mix like him and you're trying to incorporate all 4 of your pitches, sometimes it takes away from what you do really, really well. So in Toronto, obviously, trying to bring in that fastball, not great in locating that mid to upper 90s fastball, had a hard time locating. Had the slider that he was trying to work in as well, and just couldn't quite locate on that pitch. This is the big pitch that he kind of took away when he went to Houston, the curveball. Good pitch, but maybe is not his best pitch. So you're taking away from bringing in your best pitch all the time. Maybe overexposing the changeup too much because you're trying to do a little too much than what you're capable of doing as far as Kikuchi. So he goes over to Houston. What do? Let's simplify. You throw your fastball really well. Let's focus fastball top of the zone, right? Fastball top of the zone. Not worrying about so much location, but let's worry about top of the zone, grip it and rip it type of mentality here with Kikuchi. Mid to upper 90s, use it. Now the slider, bottom of the zone. Let's not so much worry about corners of the plate here. We got fastball top of the zone, slider to the bottom of the zone. Now that is absolutely nasty. Now if there's any hitters that have a weak stomach right here, look away because this is gross right here. A little overlay of the fastball and the slider coming out of the same arm slot, same release point. When you have the fastball going to the top of the zone, you're on the fastball, all of a sudden it's slider, you're swinging over the top of it. If you're looking slider, you're going to get blown up by the fastball. So to me, Kikuchi really brought something once he got traded to the Astros that I think unlocked a new potential for him that I think a lot of teams are looking at like, hey, this guy could be a top of the rotation type of pitcher.
So it looks like less is more, at least for
sometimes you need to simplify.
But I'm wondering, why didn't that philosophy get imparted while he was in Toronto?
Well, I think sometimes, like, you have a guy like Kikuchi, like I was saying, he has 4 pitches. So as a starter, what are you always trying to do? You're trying to incorporate because you're trying to implement a game plan to get through a lineup.
Yeah.
But sometimes, though, that can be a detriment because then some of those pitches, that extra few curveballs you're throwing, the extra few changeups, is taking away from your command and your ability to use what you do really, really well. And for Kikuchi, the Astros were able to identify elite fastball, elite slider. You can still throw the curveball and changeup, but it's going to be more a precise decision-making process when to throw those pitches on certain counts, certain situations, certain hitters, and then let's stick primarily fastball slider to the rest of those lineups that you're facing because it doesn't matter who's in the box in that situation, that's going to play.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the Astros are going to be able to swim in the financial waters in order to retain Kikuchi. The Boston Red Sox, for me, jump into mind?
Yeah,
for
well, I think there's a lot of guys that'll be in Kikuchi. A lot of guys, like we talked about, a lot of teams looking for pitching. So everyone's going to be kicking the tires on a guy like him with his type of elite stuff.
All right.
It's that time of year where a lot of companies offer open enrollment for their health benefits and plans for employees. And it covers everything from medical and health insurance to dental insurance to commuter benefits. So as we're in the midst of that here at our company, we thought maybe we would apply the idea and the concepts of open enrollment to free agency and Major League Baseball. Stay with us on this.
Only you, Maddie. Go.
No, stay with us. This is all John O'Malley. This is all our production staff. Let's start the benefits by talking about dental insurance, shall we? And we think that the Orioles need to bite down, if you will, and sign at least one of their two big Uber ticket items. Anthony Santander, so important to them. Corbin Burns going to cost a lot of money, and the Birds have got to bite down and keep at least one. Dental insurance also applies to the Yankees and the Juan Soto sweepstakes. They could do the root canal and let him walk, and that would be painful. Or you put a permanent crown on top of that tooth and you lock him up for life so he doesn't go anywhere. Two very distinct ways to go in the Yankees' dental insurance. What about vision insurance? Boy, a lot of things need to get better with the Rockies. Here's one of them. They were 6th worst in terms of walk rate, and they had the highest strikeout rate. So the vision is a little askew there, and among the things that need to improve, maybe the vision at the plate. What about the Giants in terms of vision insurance? Things have gotten blurry the last couple years, and they're hoping that the hirings of Buster Posey and Zach Manassian can put some glasses back on that pupil and line up the vision again to restore the Giants as a power in the National League. You know, your HSA account is out there, and the cost of everything's gone up the past few years. Time for the Red Sox to tap into their HSA and write a couple of checks off that account. Behave like the big market team that they are, and if it means dipping into your HSA, go ahead and do it. There's a retirement catch-up option for many employers, and before Clayton Kershaw rides off into the sunset, forget about the 401k and contribute to the 3000K. He is about a month's worth of starts away from getting to 3,000 strikeouts for his career. Some teams offer commuter benefits, and who better than the Padres to take advantage of that? Because San Diego had the most miles traveled last season of any team. First time since 1997 that a team outside the AL West had that distinction. It's usually the Seattle Mariners covering all that ground. And finally, in terms of short-term disability, the Dodgers could have used it because they had the most days lost to the injured list last year, but it didn't matter because they won the World Series anyway. So the Dodgers said no to that short-term disability insurance, and as it turned out, everything was fine. Any of that strike your fancy?
Yeah, I liked it all, but I went to your first dental. I think everybody has to make sure they have a good dental plan. The Orioles, like, look, 2 years ago, 101 wins. I mean, tops in baseball, 91 wins this year. You know, they have to do something to continue with that Oriole magic and Oriole way and that great ballpark. I hope they do. I don't know if Corbin Burns is going to come back. You mentioned about Anthony Santander. I mean, 44 home runs, 102 RBIs, like major offense, great right field. Every time that I used to go down to Baltimore, I played in the old Memorial Stadium uptown. You know, so I always waited for, like, man, when this turns around, Baltimore Orioles.
It's turned.
Yeah,
but they got to keep it that way.
Yeah, so I'm feeling that. I hope they do. I know they have a new ownership, and
I'm wondering if, like, it would be a fool's exercise to try to prioritize for them. But if Santander's the guy they end up keeping, are there enough free agent pitchers out there to put back the Burns dominance? Right? You've got to go get Kikuchi. You've got to think about Manaea, Severino. I mean, there's other players out there. I don't know if there's enough power. If they don't bring back Santander, in other words, I'm not sure if there's other power out there. There might be other arms out there if you decide that Burns is too expensive.
Fair. And they have a large stable. I don't know if they're 1, 2, or 3 in respective periodicals of the amount of prospects that they have. And how that plays out, whether you're in the Garrett Crochet possibility of a trade. And there's good pitchers out there. We saw what happened with the Mets last year with Severino and Manaea.
Yeah.
Like, there's that guy that could be maybe not the Corbin Burns level, but right there, 1A, 2A.
Steve Phillips joins us as he does throughout the hot stove season. Steve, good morning. We want to start with Juan Soto, as we seem to start with everybody with Juan Soto these days. And I want to lay out an example for you, and you tell me if there's an application here in Soto's free agency. Remembering what the Cardinals were faced with about 15 years ago when they decided to re-up Matt Holliday, it was then unclear how that would impact Albert Pujols' money and his ability to stay a Cardinal for life. Are we talking about the same thing here if, in fact, the Blue Jays get into the Soto sweepstakes as it relates to Vlad Guerrero?
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think they can afford both of them. I'm very surprised. Look, they got in on Ohtani last year. And at the end of it, certainly the fans felt like they were used to run the price up as a stalking horse for the Dodgers. Now, they were willing to match what the Dodgers did, and Ohtani just chose to go to Los Angeles. But I find it interesting. I thought the main priority for Toronto would have been sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. right out of the gate this offseason. Get cost certainty, lock him in, market to all of the other free agents that we're in it to win it for the future. Here's what we just invested in. But I don't think that they're negotiating with Vladdy right now if they're actually in on Juan Soto. And what I find interesting is, I can't imagine that the Blue Jays will be able to match what Hal Steinbrenner and the Yankees are going to be willing to pay or what Steve Cohen and the Mets are going to be willing to pay. And so it makes me wonder, why get involved in it? Because all it's going to cost you is potentially losing out on Plan B or Plan C. And it could alienate Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and make him feel like, geez, I'm not that much of a priority. You'd rather have this guy than me, when I think the only reality is they're not going to get Soto. I don't think they're going to get Soto. I think they should really try to lock up Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So I think it's complicated for them. But I think they're playing with fire a little bit by even participating in the negotiations.
I loved your answer because earlier in the show, we were talking about Soto allegedly not being, San Francisco's not interested. And you sat in that general manager's seat for a long time. I know agents do it with respect to telling the team, hey, we got this potential options to drive up a price. Would that even be remotely in it? Because I look at this, you got the Yankees, Mets. It seems like those are the two front runners, and then you have two other American League East teams. Did you ever feel that way when dealing with an agent, that they might be just trying to gin up the deal because it's going to cost me more?
Yeah, so I think that there is that sort of gamesmanship that goes on, and certainly in the American League East, it used to be the Red Sox and Yankees playing that game with each other. They would get in just to run the price up on the other. But in this offseason, where you're going to fly out to Los Angeles, sit down and meet with the agent and the player, to me, it would be disrespectful and disingenuous if you were playing that game. It's one thing to express interest over the phone. It's another one to fly out there and court the player. I mean, at that point, you really are interested in the player and not just doing it to run up the price on the other team. So that happens where you do run up the price. You want it to cost the other team more because maybe it'll compromise them in the future. I don't think that's the case with the interest for the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. I think they're truly interested, but I think we all have to ask ourselves, can the Red Sox, can the Blue Jays match dollar for dollar what the Yankees and the motivation the Yankees have to bring it back and what the Mets have, Steve Cohen, where there's always one more Steve Cohen dollar than there is anybody else. Can you really match that? And if not, get out of it and make Plan B a priority and go get that guy in a preemptive strike before he has to wait for Soto to come off the board.
From the deal that we're waiting for to a deal that we know about, and I heard you and Eduardo talk this morning on the leadoff spot in MLB Network Radio about Travis d'Arnaud's 2-year deal joining the Los Angeles Angels. You have a take on the other side of it, what it means for the Braves to have lost a pretty important guy.
Yeah, Travis d'Arnaud is a leader. Like, this guy was so important to the Atlanta Braves. The number of important at-bats that he had over the last several years. Big hits, big RBIs, home runs, sacrifice flies. He always seems to come up when he's in the game and deliver. You know, in the NFL, it's sort of now in vogue to go with tandem running backs. And I think Atlanta has gotten out in front of this tandem catchers with Sean Murphy and d'Arnaud. d'Arnaud's better than just a backup catcher, right? Both Murphy and d'Arnaud are really, could be everyday catchers or semi-regular catchers. And so I think losing d'Arnaud is a big loss, both in the clubhouse and the dugout, and on the days that he plays, giving Murphy a day off, because he was legitimately an offensive and a defensive quality catcher. Ron Washington knows him from his time in Atlanta. He brings him out there, and they're putting together the tandem catchers with Logan O'Hoppe, who I really like a lot, both offensively and defensively. With Darno, they can use the DH spot to get both bats in the lineup. I think it's a really good move. Not a really high price point for the Angels. I like what they've done so far.
Also heard you guys reacting to the Silver Slugger Awards yesterday. Really quickly, a couple of 7-time recipients in Jose Altuve and Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I think just the level of consistency, right? For Jose Altuve, it points to, I think nobody really competes at second base in the American League with Altuve. He's the man. And for Mookie Betts, he's in as a utility player this year. Like, it doesn't matter where you play him. He'll find his way to get hardware. And I think for Mookie Betts to be the utility award winner for the Silver Slugger this year, and my guess is he'll probably be the second base award winner in the National League next year. Ketel Marte winning it this year. But Mookie, they said he's going to be in the infield. I suspect it'll be second base. Don't be surprised if both of them, Altuve and Betts, get their 8th Silver Slugger awards next year.
Steve Phillips hosts the leadoff spot, MLB Network Radio, every morning. He is with us weekly on Hot Stove. Steve, we appreciate you. Thanks for being on with us as always. Fact. Those are real photos.
Who cares about the facts?
Who cares about the facts? That's right. Keith Costas joins us. We do this occasionally on the show this time of year where we pit one player against the other as a free agent candidate. But, Keith, you're going to spin it in a little different direction this morning.
Yeah, guys, trade candidates this morning going head-to-head. A little bit of dot connecting. Some, hard reports on some of these guys being on the block. We'll start with the pair of closers here in the National League Central, Ryan Helsley and Devin Williams. Now, Helsley seems like a virtual lock to be moved this offseason, guys. You look at MLB Trade Rumors list of the top 35 trade candidates, 7 of them, 20%, come from my club, the Cardinals. Devin Williams, I know it seems a little counterintuitive, won the division last year, but it's not like we haven't seen the Brewers move on from an elite closer before with Josh Hader. So what's your thoughts on that matchup, guys? Any possible landing spots or a preference on one pitcher versus the other?
You want to start here or do you want me to start here?
Ryan Helsley just screams out, right? And they do it differently. Devin Williams, unbelievable changeup. Helsley throws upwards of 102, 103 miles an hour. He led all of baseball in saves. Mm-hmm. So stuff-wise on the back end, even though I love Devin Williams and how he does it, boy, I mean, who wouldn't want Ryan Helsley if he was on the block? I imagine it would probably cost the club more prospects for him.
Right. I could smell...
Both in their final year, guys, by the way, just for context.
Yeah, thank you.
Either one of these guys would be a nice fit in Philly, right? Is Carlos Estevez free agent, Keith?
Yes.
He is. So you got to fill the back of the bullpen in Philadelphia. And that bullpen collapse in the postseason last year was so stark that they're going to load up as best they can.
Texas Rangers. Okay. I don't know where Yates is going. Robertson, I don't know if he's going to actually want to, continue his career.
Yeah.
That 100% screams out there.
Rebuilding teams are not in on trading for a closer. At least I don't think they are. And if Baltimore didn't have a starting pitching need, I'd say Baltimore. What about the Yankees for one of these guys, too? Look, I know they stumbled into a pretty good closer at the end of the season, but I'm not sure they wouldn't want to bolster up the entire group, right? The same way the San Diego Padres loaded up a bullpen with multiple closers and multiple high-leverage guys. Any ready for the postseason team would want to do the same thing.
Look, who wouldn't want them? You're right. I mean, a team that's obviously out of it, they're not going to trade away their prospects. But both of these guys, whether they're on the back end or not, getting the 27th out or getting key outs in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, right? I mean, these are closer guys, right? I can't imagine any team, Keith, that wouldn't want either one. Hey, but who do you think is more expensive prospect-wise?
I think Helsley is going to get a king's ransom this offseason. But, I mean, like I said, they're both in their final year, and they're both top of the food chain type of closers. So I don't know if there's going to be that big of a difference, but I'd lean towards Helsley.
I would say this, though.
Return.
If I have one out to get, and forget about what happened to get in the Pete Alonso at-bat with Devin Williams, or even worse, the next at-bat where he gave up the base hit to
Lindor?
No.
Vientos?
No.
Dave Kingman?
No. Yeah.
Wayne Garrett.
Wayne Garrett. How come I can't think of his name? The left-handed hitting outfielder. Brandon Nimmo. Take away that at-bat. If I got one out that I have to get, I want Devin Williams on the mound. So that's our really long-winded answer.
All right, guys, we'll accept it. You mentioned the Padres, Matty. Moving on to the next one involves a Padre here. A couple of sort of non-traditional first basemen. And again, why would the Padres move Luis Arraez? Well, we've seen him with 3 different teams in the last 3 years, and they are bumping up against that luxury tax. So could they possibly move salary? Same kind of thing with Diaz on the other side. Obviously, these guys are both recent batting champions. Diaz, one of 3 Rays, making north of $10 million this year. Always a consideration when you think about them wheeling and dealing with that payroll. Thoughts on that comp there, guys?
Man, so different are these two guys'
Thank you.
profiles. Yandy stumbled into being able to hit for power a couple of years ago. I love Yandy Diaz. What's not to love on either one of these guys? Best candidate to be traded for different reasons. You know, Yandy Diaz is a candidate.
No, I know.
Getting up in the morning?
You're not being gratuitous, are you?
No. You're up in the morning anyway, aren't you?
I am. I'm morning. I don't know about you, but like the late night stuff.
I know. Well, I think how old are you?
50. Yeah, no, I'm 59.
I'm 57.
I just turned 59.
So it's when we get there, the old man stuff kicks in. I'm
Don't
up every
let
hour and a
the
half.
old man in. Toby Keith.
The old man is in.
No,
You're
no, I
running
don't
to
let
the-
it.
John,
If I'm
every
up
hour
late,
and a half, it's all happening at this stage of life.
I'm a high caffeine coffee guy.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, so I like so I actually like the morning, contrary to what it might sound like.
We have a lot to get to today.
We got a good one, Matty.
We
I
do.
hope I surprise you.
You've got 2 mystery callers that are going to call in.
Yes.
Can I just get one ask on this? One pre-question. Are they baseball? Is it from the baseball world or the entertainment world? Like, are they baseball related? They're calling in together.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin the surprise.
All right, okay.
'cause people think this is all like, part of the skit.
No. I don't. I have no clue who it is.
Yeah, so I don't want to keep it that way.
All right, that's
we'll
fine.
keep it moving too. So
Got it. Okay. Steve Phillips is going to join us a little bit later on. JP Morosi coming up in just a bit from Taiwan, live
Yes,
from Taiwan.
again.
And Keith Costas has a round of trade candidate face-off for us a little bit later on this morning as well. And while you were watching something else last night, the slow trickle of news on Juan Soto's free agency continues to drip. And here's one from Jason Stark. The Giants currently do not have a meeting set up with Juan Soto, according to sources that tell Jason and The Athletic. So I guess that's where we're at in the Soto thing now. We're reporting.
How's
on
that
teams-
possible?
We're reporting on teams that don't have meetings.
we're starting to get mad at dudes like, how could they not?
Right. This just broke, too, that the Pirates have not set up a meeting with Juan Soto.
How about the Marlins? Are we in on?
I mean, I guess that's where we're at, though. Like, it's so early in the game for him, and I do not expect this to happen before the holidays. I do not expect this to happen in a timely manner whatsoever. We know the agent's track record. We know that this is the biggest player on the free agent market this year. We're hearing numbers with 7s in front of them for him, similar to what we saw for Ohtani, which I still think is preposterous. But if that's where it goes, then Godspeed to everybody involved.
He's obviously a special player. I love watching him hit. The fact that he's very young, it's a very unusual experience right now for us to be talking about a free agent having spent 6 years in the big leagues, and he's 26 years old. That doesn't happen other than by the name of Bryce Harper. He might have been around that age. So when it comes to the total number, Matty, that's why that number could be true, because of the amount of years that he's going to get. I am surprised, and who reported the San Francisco?
Jason Stark.
Okay, Jason. The only reason why I'm curious about that would be a couple years ago, Aaron Judge, as you and I were out in San Diego, and there was absolute 100% pursuit of Aaron Judge with the San Francisco Giants. So, somewhere there's some capability to spend that kind of money.
Right. And then there's all the cheekiness and some of the nonsense that goes on, like the video that circulated of Aaron Judge reportedly in a hotel in San Francisco, when in fact, like, he was at a Ray's Pizza at the corner of 32nd and whatever. And he, Aaron Judge, what are you doing here? Oh, nothing. Wink. It was, then we hear that it wasn't real. Like, all the stuff that you see in here, be skeptical of all of it until we see a name on the dotted line.
But you're not you're not poo-pooing the idea that it's not right. It's part of the game of negotiating,
It's
right?
absolutely a
So
part
the more
of the
we,
game.
I mean, look.
But I'm not going to fall for the banana in the
Look,
tailpipe.
we're looking at the right there underneath you. The Jays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees. 3 teams in the AL East. Would create some sort of interesting pressure, right? If you're the Yankees.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
The yin and the yang there is like either, if nothing else, if we don't get him, we're going to increase the attention to it and therefore the price.
But it's obvious that those teams are going to be in on him. Like, you don't have to really expand your imagination to think that
It's
the Yankees
obvious.
are in, right?
Well, but you think it's obvious Toronto?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking
because
with
there's
a
need,
7?
I don't know about the 7. I'm not. I regret even speculating on
fine.
people's money. But obviously the Jays have a need. Obviously they don't, right, other than re-upping with Vlad, which is something they're going to have to figure out how to do. There's not a huge payroll albatross on that roster.
Fair.
Same with Boston. Boston's got to start behaving like a big market team again. Enough of this old town team stuff.
Okay, so to play along, we know what's going on in L.A., the Dodgers, certainly what San Diego's done the last few years. Why wouldn't the Giants be kicking the tires?
Okay. Yeah, you make a pretty good point. Well, maybe it's what we talked about yesterday. Maybe the Giants are tired of being bridesmaids in all these affairs. Swing and miss at Judge, swing and miss at Correa, whatever it is that the fan expectation becomes.
But if it's legitimate, would it tick you off more that you lose the player and you gave a good effort, a la Aaron Judge a couple years ago, or not even throw your hat in the ring?
I think you can do that once or twice, but if you keep doing that, right, you keep your fans by the okey doke every time, right? The report, breaking news on Instagram, our guy is flying to Toronto to have a meeting at midnight with the GM. We're close. We're close. And then it doesn't happen. You can do that once or twice, but if it happens every offseason, it's the boy who cried wolf, ultimately.
Or the banana in the tailpipe.
The banana in the tailpipe, yeah. We do have one. Actually, wait a minute. There was an interesting thing on the Soto front that I thought maybe is newsworthy. That's that, I guess, Francisco Lindor is helping in the recruitment process, which is powerful. Yeah. Right? This is a veteran. This is a respected leader in the sport. And if he gets involved in negotiations, if potential teammates get involved and reach across the aisle, would that be a powerful thing for you if you were on the market?
No, I wouldn't say powerful because they do this all the time. Okay. This is common that you would have your star player, 100% Francisco Lindor is in on this. I'm not privy to inside information, but of course you would. Every single time you come in as an ownership group in your front office, you're going to get every one of your big players to chime in, whether either communicating via telephone or fly in for it. And yes, it's impressionable. They're going out all stops on this, no doubt about it. Yeah. Mets are 100% in.
Got it. At the other end of the economic spectrum, we learned of a signing last night that I think is a really good one for not only how he thinks the Braves may have made a mistake on this, and he'll go into his explanation on that later on, but give me at face value what you think of the match here between d'Arnaud and the Halos.
Love it. It's a true backup catcher. He knows where he is at 35 years old, and d'Arnaud, he's been around a long time. Southern California kid?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going back home. Mm-hmm. And I know you know the Angels better than I do, but Logan O'Hoppe is a dude. Mm-hmm. The way he carries himself, his presence, his look, his skill. 24 years old. Like you talk about this, it's going up for this kid right here. I like him a lot. I got a chance to sit with him during the World Series, and what an impressive guy. His father's from down in my neck of the woods down in Ocean County, New Jersey. I love it, and I love the fact that you have an older guy that's been around, that's caught Cy Young Award winners, in Travis d'Arnaud. This is an excellent move by the Angels to help this young man here in Logan, Ohio.
Yeah, really nice catching tandem that the Angels have built, and there's also the narrative of Travis d'Arnaud being reunited with Ron Washington, and it's the highest of compliments when a guy who managed you previously is actively trying to recruit you to come to where he is now, right? He wants his guys with him, and he trusts Travis d'Arnaud.
And it tells you about the person, too, right? Aside from an aging catcher where d'Arnaud is now, but, Ron Washington knows him really well, obviously, the years in Atlanta.
There was other news to report on yesterday. The Diamondbacks will stay out west, making some news, and we'll go to X for this. Arizona has hired Brian Kaplan.
I don't care about Brian Kenny.
No, Brian Kaplan. Kaplan as pitching coach, part of a real pitching brain trust overhaul in Arizona. We'll hear from, who are we going to hear from? Torey Lovullo, and I think we'll talk about Mike Hazen and all that stuff too. Let's hear from the manager on his new pitching coach.
I've had an opportunity to get to know Brian through a very intensive interview process. Through that time, he was able to set up what he believes in, what his process is, and overall what his outlook is on helping the Arizona Diamondbacks pitch and get to an elite level in 2025.
Obviously, I'm extremely excited. This is an incredible opportunity. Firsthand knowledge of how talented this team is, especially in 23. This staff has a lot of horses and starter depth, and you really can't say that about too many orgs in the game, too many big league staff. So I'm really excited. Obviously, I'm excited to get to work with the entire staff, but I feel lucky to have that amount of starters at our disposal and see the best way we can kind of, get them moving forward.
You know, whatever shortcomings that the Diamondbacks suffered from last year from a pitching standpoint, you could attribute it to injury just as much as underperformance, if you want to talk about that. They were without Merrill Kelly for most of the year. Zach Gallen had time on the IL. Erod was gone for a long time. So they're starting over again here. Let me ask you big picture. Yeah. And you pitch for so many different teams and so many different pitching coaches. When it's a new messenger coming in, a new pitching coach in this case, inheriting the same staff, we're to assume it's going to be largely the same group. What's the realistic expectation for what kind of difference that can make?
I think it could be huge. I've had pitching coaches that just a few simple words and instruction clicked. And I've had other guys where it was fingernails on the chalkboard, where it just, you don't dislike the person, it's just the communication and the information just isn't connecting. And here's where I think it comes in, and there's no question about it. Torey Lovullo, whatever went on, they were 27th in Major League Baseball in team ERA last year. And we know Brent Strom he's a heralded pitching coach. Fantastic. No, all the years in Houston. And 2 years ago, this staff went to the World Series. So something went wrong. You mentioned it, Maddie. I mean, you had injuries. Eduardo Rodriguez signed a four-year deal for $80 million with a vesting option for 5. That didn't work out. He only had 10 games. Jordan Montgomery was in 21 starts. He was hurt and just, an ERA above 6.
Signed late.
So here's the thing. I think with Brian Kaplan, when he came in, and you sit down and you know where the pain was, right? So Brian Kaplan said what he's going to do to help specifically and fix these guys, or try to, with knowing what was lost or what was missing with what transpired last year. And I know it starts with injury, so this isn't a blame game. It's just you have to do something. They scored the most runs in baseball last year, the D-backs. So you have technically the best offense. For the most part, metrics, right? You score most, and they didn't make the playoffs with one of the worst pitching staffs ERA in baseball. You had to do something.
I guess. I mean, we're not privy to what was happening there behind closed doors.
Well, obviously, because they cleaned. It wasn't.
Everybody was
just across the board.
Assistant pitching coach, Mike Fetters, the bullpen coach, and all those guys are great. I mean, Strami, like you said, he is regarded as one of the best to have done this in the last 30 years.
Maybe more.
Yeah. Interesting moves by the Diamondbacks, and we'll see how that translates into wins.
菊池選手の投球スタイルの変化について言及がありましたが、確かに移籍後に目覚ましい活躍を見せていましたね。西武時代から決して制球はいい選手ではありませんでしたが、投球をシンプルにすることで問題を改善したという結果には驚きでした。プレミア12も始まり、日本人選手の活躍がどんどん世界に注目されていくのは本当に嬉しいことです。これからも移籍市場の話題をこの冬の間はお届けしていきますので、ぜひお楽しみに。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。さようなら。